You know, when we think about political statements, we usually picture fiery speeches or big protest signs, right? But what if I told you that sometimes the most powerful messages are hidden in plain sight, like on a book cover? That's what we're going to do today. We're going to decode the secret messages hidden in art and see what they tell us about a nation's story. Okay, so what you're looking at right here, these are two Iranian covers for the exact same book, George Orwell's Animal Farm. Now, you probably know the story, right? It's that classic allegory for the Russian Revolution, where a bunch of farm animals kick out their human farmer, only to find out their new pig leaders are just as bad, if not worse. But just look at these two covers for a second. They could not be more different. I mean, one is super stark, just minimalist text. The other one, it's this complex, totally symbolic illustration. It's the same book, but they are sending radically different messages about power, about revolution, about everything. So what on earth is going on here? Come on, let's break this down. All right, first stop, we're going back to 1969. Now, this is a full decade before the Iranian Islamic Revolution, so keep that in mind. At this point, the country is a monarchy, and it's ruled by the Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. And you can imagine it's a pretty politically charged environment. And right in the middle of all this, a brand new translation of Animal Farm hits the shelves. Okay, and here is our first huge clue. The translator, a guy named Amir Shahi, did something really clever. He didn't just translate Animal Farm literally. Nope. He changed the title to Kalaye Hevanat, and that translates to Animal Castle. Think about that. From a farm to a castle. Why would he do that? What's the big deal? Well, get this. In 1960s Iran, the word castle was politically explosive. It was a total jab, a direct shot at the Shah's super lavish lifestyle, his grand palaces, all of which was a world away from the economic struggles of everyday Iranians. So with that one little word change, suddenly Orwell's book isn't just about the Soviet Union anymore. It becomes this thinly veiled critique of the Iranian monarchy itself. It's this quiet but incredibly powerful act of rebellion. Okay, now let's jump forward in time. We're in 2003. And, I mean, everything has changed. The 1979 revolution happened, the Shah was overthrown, and the Islamic Republic was established. We're talking a massive shift from a secular monarchy to a religious theocracy. The whole ideological system is different. And you guessed it, the cover of Animal Farm, it changed right along with it. And wow, this new cover is just a world away from that simple text version from '69, isn't it? It's jam-packed with illustrations, with colors, with this really complex visual hierarchy. Honestly, this isn't just a book cover. It's basically a political cartoon, and every single part of it is loaded with meaning. So let's look at how everything is laid out here. Right at the top, in that dominant spot, you've got the pig, representing the new dictator, right? And then down below, you see all the other animals. They're all huddled together, sure, but look closely. They're all looking away from the pig and away from each other. The message here is crystal clear. That revolutionary promise of all animals are equal, yeah, that failed. A new power structure just came in and created a new group of oppressed, disunited people. And it's not just the animals. The colors are hugely symbolic too. They were chosen very deliberately to echo the colors of the Iranian flag. And in this new post-revolutionary world, each color carries a ton of weight. You've got black for mourning and disappointment, white for peace, red, which stands for suffering and martyrdom. That's a really key concept in Shia Islam. And finally, green for Islam itself. It's just a brilliant move, right? Using the state's own symbols to critique the state. So, this really clever use of metaphor we're seeing. It's not some one-off trick. It's actually part of this much bigger, deep-rooted artistic tradition in modern Iran. It became an absolutely essential tool for writers and filmmakers trying to find their way around censorship and political oppression, both before and after the revolution. And to really get a handle on this tradition, there's a key idea you need to know. It's a concept from Iranian intellectual life called garb zadagi. You can translate it as Westoxification. Basically, it's this idea that an uncritical obsession with Western culture can end up corrupting your own nation's culture. And this whole theme of cultural authenticity, well, it became a huge battleground for artists. Let me give you a great example. There's this classic 1969 film called Gav, which means the cow. Now, on the surface, it's a super tragic story about a farmer, Masht Hassan. He is so attached to his cow, which is basically the only thing keeping his village going. Well, one day the cow mysteriously dies, and his grief is just so overwhelming that his mind snaps and he starts to believe that he is the cow. But you know where this is going, right? This is about way more than just one man's psychological break. So, is the film really about Mashtasan? Or is it an allegory for an entire nation losing its most vital resource, its identity, its economic independence, because of poverty and a failing Western-backed modernization program under the Shah? See, the metaphor is what gives the film cover to ask these really dangerous questions. So you start to see this pattern, right? In places where free expression is clamped down, art isn't just a mirror reflecting reality. It becomes a full-on battleground where the official story of the nation is being fought over. Artists use metaphor, they use allegory to push back and offer different stories, alternative narratives to the one the state is telling. And a perfect example of this battle for the story comes from the literature of the brutal Iran-Iraq War back in the 1980s. See, the state sponsored its own genre of writing called sacred defense literature. And these were the official stories. We're talking memoirs, poems, novels, all designed to frame the war in heroic and religious terms, glorifying soldiers' sacrifices as holy martyrdom. This was the government's approved version of what happened. But other writers, the ones working outside that official system, they pushed back hard. Authors like the famous Mahmoud Dowlatabadi told a completely different story. In their books, war isn't glorious at all. It's traumatic. And martyrdom isn't some sacred triumph. It's a source of deep, personal, and national grief. What they're doing is actively desacralizing the state's narrative. They're offering a more complex, more human, and frankly, more painful version of the truth. And that is the absolute key here. They're using literature to pull the memory of the war away from political ideology and give it back to the people. And all of this brings us to one last really powerful idea. From something as simple as a book cover to something as complex as a war novel, what Iranian art shows us is that when the official version of history is super tightly controlled, a society's real memory, it doesn't just vanish. It goes underground. It survives in metaphors, in allegories, and in the quiet resistance of a story that's just well told. And it leaves us with this one big question to think about. When truth is censored, is art the very last place it can truly survive?